Today's learning target is I can make function tables and write equations. Today we're going to talk about functions. When you have a function, you start with an input number. There is a function rule, and a function rule is just anything that you're going to add or subtract or multiply or divide, or maybe any combination of those, but what you'll do to the input number, and that gives you the output. So let's say that our function rule was to times by 2. If we have an input, let's say we put 2 in there, so our input is 2, and then we do the function rule, which is times 2, our output number is going to be 4. Okay, if we were to input 4 with that same function rule, our output would be 8, because I have to times it by 2, and 4 times 2 gives me 8. When I take the information that I have and I put it into, when I organize it, I create what's called a function table. Okay, so right here you see this is a function table of the information that I was just using. So my function rule was that I would times by 2. Okay, so my input ends up right here, my output ends up here, and my function rule is right here. Two other words that we can use in place of input and output are domain and range. So the domain is just the first set of numbers, in this case the input, and the range is the second set of numbers, that's the output. I always use the D in domain and the R in range to help me remember D comes first in the alphabet, so the domain is the first set of numbers. The R comes after the D, so the R is after the D, it's the second set of numbers. So domain first, range second, D first in the alphabet, R second. Functions are often written as equations. So if we take a look at what we were just doing, and the equation for this would be 2x equals y. And let me explain here how I did this. So your input equals x. Okay, your output equals y, and the function rule is what we're doing to it, so we timesed it by 2. In fact, instead of using the little x there for times, I'm just going to use the dot, make things less confusing. Alright, so you can see if I take x and times it by 2, it equals y, so 2x equals y. So today's assignment is going to ask you to copy and complete the function table and then identify the domain and the range. So the first thing you want to do is to write down your function table. So copy it down just like this. So this right here is showing us the function rule. It's saying y is equal to, or it's the same as 3 times x. Okay, if I wanted to rewrite that, 3x is the same as y. I could do that. And remember, the domain is the first set of numbers, so that's your x, and your range is your second set of numbers, that's your y. So now I need to complete the function table. So to do that, I see I don't know my range for this domain, but I know if I take 3 times the x, the domain, so 3 times the x in this case is 2. So I write it out, 3 times 2. And that's going to give me 6. So I would put 6 in there. Okay, in my next one here, I know that this is going to be 9. Because if I take 3 times the x, in this case is 3, I get 9. So 3 times the x, the domain for this one is 4. So it's going to be 3 times 4. So I have to write that in here. 3 times 4, and that's going to give me 12. So there I've completed that function table. So when you do it today, when you have these types of problems, start by writing out the table and then fill out in this case the domains are filled in for you. Find the ranges and the function rule.